It was an ordinary Tuesday afternoon in downtown Kentucky, the kind of day where nothing out of the ordinary ever really happens. The sun was shining bright, the air smelled faintly of fried chicken from the nearby KFC, and the steady hum of traffic filled the streets. Locals were going about their usual routines, students walking home from class, families grabbing lunch, workers taking their break. Everything felt calm, predictable, until something absolutely unbelievable happened. A sleek, black SUV suddenly pulled up to the front of the KFC. It wasn't unusual to see a nice car around, but this one stood out, tinted windows, polished rims, and an unmistakable air of importance. The chatter outside slowly died down as curious eyes turned toward it. Then, the car door opened, and out stepped none other than Donald J. Trump, the 45th President of the United States. For a moment, time itself seemed to stop. People blinked, rubbed their eyes, and whispered to one another. "Is that really him?" Someone murmured. "No way. Must be an impersonator," another said, reaching for their phone. But no, this wasn't a prank, a look-alike, or a movie shoot. This was the real Donald Trump, dressed in his signature dark suit, red tie, and that unmistakable, confident stride. He was walking straight into the Kentucky Fried Chicken restaurant in broad daylight, with only 2 Secret Service agents trailing behind him. No reporters, no crowds, no flashing cameras. Just Trump, casually strolling toward the entrance, as if it were the most normal thing in the world. Inside the restaurant, everything froze. The hum of conversation went silent. Employees behind the counter stared in disbelief, half expecting to wake up from a dream. A customer holding a tray of biscuits stopped mid-step. Even the sound of the fryer seemed to fade away. Then came the whisper that spread like wildfire through the room. "Oh my God, that's Donald Trump." Within seconds, phones were out, cameras were recording, and social media was lighting up. Everyone wanted to capture the moment, and one question echoed in every corner of that small restaurant. What on earth was Donald Trump doing in a KFC? Trump walked right up to the counter, smiling confidently, like a man stepping into his own hotel lobby. His presence immediately filled the small restaurant, that unmistakable mix of charm and authority he was known for. "Good afternoon," he said in that familiar, commanding tone that turned heads instantly. "I hear this is the best fried chicken in America. I want to see if that's true." The room went silent. The young cashier, a nervous college student named Jamie, could barely process what was happening. He straightened his cap, adjusted his headset, and stuttered. "Yes, sir. Welcome to KFC. What would you like to order?" Without even glancing at the menu board, Trump raised a finger and pointed to the giant picture of a 20-piece bucket behind the counter. "Give me that. Original recipe," he said with confidence. "And make sure it's fresh, very fresh." "Nobody likes soggy chicken, believe me." The line erupted in laughter. A few people clapped. Even the usually stone-faced Secret Service agents behind him couldn't hide their smiles. But Trump wasn't done. "And," he added, gesturing toward the menu again, "get me one of those famous bowls, the one with mashed potatoes, gravy, corn, and cheese. That's the most underrated item on the menu. Tremendous stuff. I've said it before." Jamie nodded frantically, typing in the order while trying not to drop his pen. His hands were trembling, not from fear, but from pure disbelief. He was taking the former president's lunch order. Trump reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a sleek leather wallet. He took out a crisp $100 bill and placed it on the counter. "Keep the change," he said with a grin. "Use it to make KFC great again." The crowd roared with laughter. Someone shouted, "Classic Trump," while another yelled, "You've got to tweet that." Within seconds, phones were lifted high. People were snapping pictures, recording videos, and streaming live on TikTok and Instagram. In less than 5 minutes, hashtags like #TrumpAtKFC and #MakeChickenGreatAgain began trending online. But as Trump stood there waiting patiently for his meal, smiling and chatting with stunned customers, everyone knew this wasn't just another viral moment. Something even more unexpected was about to happen. The real surprise was still to come. Trump, took a seat in a corner booth. Nothing glamorous. Nothing presidential, just a red vinyl seat, a simple tray of golden fried chicken, and a paper cup of Diet Coke with a straw sticking out. It was the kind of scene nobody ever expected to see. One of the most famous men in the world sitting casually in a local KFC, about to dig into a bucket of chicken like any regular American. But as soon as he sat down, something magical happened. The small crowd that had gathered didn't back away. They drew closer. Phones were still recording, whispers turned into laughter, and in a matter of minutes, the quiet restaurant began to feel like a stage. And Trump? He didn't shy away for a second. In fact, he seemed to thrive on it. He grabbed a drumstick from the bucket, held it up like a microphone, and said loudly, "Folks, this is real America. Not the fancy restaurants in New York, not the cocktail parties in Los Angeles. This is where the good people eat." Oh, the crowd cheered. Someone shouted, "You tell him, Mr. President." Trump took a big bite of the chicken, chewed thoughtfully, and nodded. "Still the best chicken anywhere," he said proudly. "Better than anything you get on a private jet, I can tell you that." Laughter filled the room. The entire restaurant was hanging on every word. People started tossing questions at him, as if it had turned into an impromptu press conference. "Mr. Trump, are you running again?" Someone yelled from across the room. Trump wiped his hands carefully with a napkin, looked around the room with that trademark smirk, and said, "Let's just say, I'm hungry for a comeback." That one line hit like a lightning bolt. The entire restaurant erupted in cheers and applause. Someone shouted, "That's going viral." And they were right. Within hours, videos of the moment spread like wildfire across social media. Hashtags like hashtag KFC Trump, hashtag chicken conference, and hashtag hungry for his eco-ND term flooded the internet. News outlets picked it up. Commentators debated it. And memes exploded everywhere. What started as a simple lunch stop had just become one of the most talked about moments of the year. As Trump finished the last piece of his meal, the crowd around him had grown to nearly fill the restaurant. People were laughing, taking photos, and still buzzing about what they'd just witnessed. But amid all the excitement, Trump's attention drifted back toward the counter, to the young cashier who had taken his order earlier. It was Jamie, the college student who had somehow kept his cool while serving a former U.S. president. Even now, he stood behind the register, still smiling nervously, unsure whether to step forward or just watch from afar. Trump noticed him immediately. Wiping his hands with a napkin, he waved Jamie over. "Hey, come here, kid," he said with a friendly grin. "You did a great job today." Jamie's eyes widened as he approached. "Me?" he asked, almost whispering. "Yeah, you," Trump said, pointing at him with the same authority he used in business meetings. "You handled that crowd, stayed calm, and gave me the crispiest chicken I've had in years. That's what America's about, hard work and good service." The restaurant quieted. Everyone listened. For Jamie, it was surreal, standing just a few feet away from one of the most powerful men on the planet, being complimented for simply doing his job. "Thank you." "Sir," Jamie said, his voice trembling slightly, I'm studying business in college, hoping to start my own restaurant one day." Trump nodded thoughtfully, leaning back in his seat. "A business student, huh? That's good. We need more entrepreneurs. People who think big." Then, to everyone's surprise, Trump reached into his suit pocket and pulled out a small, gold-trimmed business card. He looked at it for a moment before handing it to Jamie. "You know what?" he said, "Send me your info. When you graduate, I might have a job for you, or maybe we'll open something together. Who knows?" For a moment, the room was silent, and then it exploded. The crowd clapped, cheered, and even started chanting, "Jamie, Jamie, Jamie." Trump stood, gave a big thumbs up, and said, "Dream big, folks. Even if you're working the fryer today, you could be running your own business tomorrow. That's the American dream." That small exchange, a few genuine words between a billionaire and a young worker, was captured on dozens of phones. By sunrise, it had gone viral across every major social media platform within just 24 hours. The story had exploded across the internet. Every major news outlet, from CNN to Fox, from local radio stations to late-night talk shows, was talking about one thing: Donald Trump. Walking into a KFC, clips of him holding a drumstick and declaring, "This is real America," were replayed millions of times. Twitter feeds were flooded with memes, YouTube channels posted reaction videos, and even late-night hosts couldn't resist making jokes about the colonel and the commander-in-chief. Some people were convinced it was a clever publicity stunt, another unpredictable move from Trump's playbook. But others, even some who didn't consider themselves fans, saw it differently. To them, it was a surprisingly genuine human moment. A former president sitting among everyday Americans, eating fried chicken with his hands, talking about dreams, hard work, and opportunity. It was something people hadn't seen in a long time, a rare glimpse of simplicity in a complicated world. Even KFC's official account jumped on the trend, tweeting late that night, "Even presidents can't resist our 11 secret herbs and spices." Hashtag KFC Trump. The tweet went viral instantly, racking up millions of views and thousands of comments. One fan replied, "This is the greatest crossover in American history." And then there was Jamie, the young cashier, who had unknowingly become part of history. Overnight, he turned into a local hero. News vans parked outside his campus. Talk shows invited him to share his experience. Someone even started a GoFundMe page to help him open his future restaurant. He told reporters it didn't feel real. "I just treated him like any other customer, but that's the day everything changed." A few days later, Trump mentioned the moment during a rally in Ohio, standing before a roaring crowd. He said, "You know, folks, the media said I couldn't connect with young people. But I walked into a KFC, and we made Kentucky great again. One bucket at a time." Whether you loved him or not, one thing was clear: the image of a former president sitting in a fast food restaurant with every day Americans had struck a chord with millions. A man, a meal, and a message somehow. It all came together to remind people of something simple yet powerful: that greatness can come from the most unexpected places. So the next time you see someone walk into a KFC, a closer look. You never know, history might just be about to repeat itself.